Worsening hurricanes, loss of biodiversity, extremes in temperature, the effects of climate change are all around us. Changes are needed at every scale, from the personal to the global. Everyone needs to start living more sustainably. On the municipal level, we have Sutainable CT, created in partnership between the Institute of Sustainable Energy at Eastern Connecticut State University and the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. It provides the path for municipalities to walk on their way to sustainability. Joining us today is Lynn Stoddard, the Executive Director of Sutainable CT and the Director of the Institute of Sustainable Energy at Eastern Connecticut State University, and Mike Urgo, the First Selectman of North Stonington. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Matt.
Let's start with Lynn. Lynn, can you talk us through the creation of Sutainable CT, who came to the table, and what creating the program looked like from the inside?
Sure. Well, in the end of 2016, there were conversations with towns and municipal leaders and CCM about the need to create a sustainability platform for towns to support them with that and give them recognition. So we pulled together, CCM had a task force on sustainability that was purely focused on municipal leaders creating a vision for what this program should be.
So that task force municipal leaders kind of was born out of that a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they set a vision for the program, which was let's create something that has a roadmap of actions, support for those actions, and a certification program. It was based on some really successful programs in other states. During 2017, we pulled together over 200 people, 9 working groups for many months to decide what does that roadmap of actions look like, what's appropriate for Connecticut. And so many stakeholders and municipal leaders, we launched the program at the CCM convention in November 2017.
I remember that. That was very exciting.
Yeah. So since then, we've been rolling. We've had one full year of certification, 2018, and we just had submissions for 2019 certification.
So that's coming up.
Yeah.
That's going to be very exciting.
Well, all the towns just submitted. We'll be announcing in early November.
So as we talked about at the top of the show, sustainability works from individual people all the way to the global. What does it mean to be sustainable on the municipal level?
Right. So that's really what this roadmap of actions was, with 200 plus stakeholders and participation by all 169 towns in the state creating the program. We said, what does sustainability look like? And if you kind of sit back and ask yourself the question, if you've been to like a cool town or live in a really cool town, what is it about this place that makes it exciting and a place I want to live and a place businesses want to start up?
Yeah.
And you come up with things that are way beyond environmental sustainability, but include things like vibrant arts and culture, local economies and small businesses that are thriving and supported, housing that's diverse and affordable, a community that just feels that it's inclusive of all residents, as well as some of the more traditional environmental things like beautiful open spaces that are well preserved, working lands of farms and whatnot.
So it pays dividends in a lot of different areas, not just the environmental.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know over the summer we were doing a program looking at municipal parks across the state. We went and did interviews and stuff. And one in Glastonbury, I know, what used to be a tank farm by the river. Acres of it. They acquired the land, redid it as a town park. It's beautiful, sustainable, and it's now self-sustaining because like the boathouse is being rented out for weddings and all stuff. But it was initially, taking this tank farm of oil tanks and turning it into a beautiful town park. So it's one of those things where it's environmental, but it now has this kind of economic and civic pride impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The livability component and all. And so a lot of it is also about engaging the residents and businesses of the community in kind of creating a vision for what works for their town and working together towards that. We have a framework to support them with that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, so what works for a town. Selectman Urgo, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
North Stonington joined Sutainable CT this year. So,
we have. We submitted our paperwork this year, and I certainly remember having just been newly elected in November 17 with the rollout of the program. We were really excited to get involved, and took us a little while with a lot of things going on, but we've kind of come to the table, and we're very excited about it.
Excellent. Was it much of a fight to get in, or was the community kind of on board from the get?
I mean, I think North Stonington kind of speaks to a lot of the things Lynn was just talking about as far as what our community is all about with an agricultural background backbone being really what our community is about, and a lot of these really exciting initiatives that we've kind of already were engaged in. But when we brought this forward to the Board of Selectmen to move forward, it was fully supported.
Yeah.
And we're just really excited to kind of get it going.
Yeah. So you think the agricultural background actually lended a certain amount to it, of people already kind of having a connection to the land and the environment, understanding that?
Yeah. I mean, I think, for our town, of course, is, all communities are a little bit different. I think North Stonington I think that definitely makes us a little bit more, I guess, eco-receptive to what's going on, globally and also just locally. And so it's,
do you think being shoreline also plays into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're, a stone's throw really from, we're a little bit north there, but absolutely it's something that, and as we're seeing, even just it seems like every couple of weeks there's another event. We had some major flooding happen in the town very recently, and these things are all attributed to global warming, and if each of our towns kind of steps up and does their part, we can start to really make some progress. So
excellent. Lynn, aside from towns, who else can be a part of Sustainable CT? Businesses, can colleges, recently we wrote in our magazine, Connecticut Town and City, about Thule in the Valley supporting and sponsoring cleanups in Oxford.
Right.
So what's the opportunities out there for other groups?
Yeah, so the program was built with the vision of elected officials, things under the town's control and influence. So a community obviously is made up of residents, businesses, people who visit, people who work there. So we're finding places for everyone. For example, for colleges, we have a great program called the Sutainable CT Fellows, and we employ. Last summer, we had 15 college students from campuses around Connecticut working at our 9 regional council of governments. So they are embedded out in the regions. We trained them in Sustainable CT, partnering with the COGS, and they were providing really hand-holding. I don't know if you had any
I can,
that, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, that was really vital in our ability to make application. The internship program was really helpful. The interns we worked with were just phenomenal. Really kind of helped get us to the finish line on the application process. I think, as a municipality, the difficult thing is we're doing a lot of these great things. It's hard enough just to talk about them a lot of the time because you're so busy, but then to submit the paperwork that was required for the program, the interns were really helpful for that and really kind of made it so we could bring it to reality. It's great.
Yeah, that sounds great. So it sounds like the COGS are a big.
The COGS are strong partners, the campuses providing the students to help do the work. We're actually exploring some opportunities for a partnership with businesses on employee engagement, where similar type thing, they could kind of volunteer hours to help towns solving problems with the expertise embedded in those companies. So stay tuned. We're working on that. And probably one thing I really want to mention is individual residents. So we just launched last week something called our Community Match Fund, and that is funding that we have to provide to Sustainable CT communities. And basically, we're going out and talking to residents and community-based organizations in the towns and saying, who has a great idea for something in your town or neighborhood that aligns with our Sustainable CT platform? And as I mentioned, that's very broad. And so then we have partnered with a really cool crowdfunding platform called IOB, which stands for In Our Backyards, which is the positive opposite of NIMBY, not in our backyards. So being very inclusive, inviting people with ideas of vision for their community to come in. We'll teach them and coach them in project development and crowdfunding, and we'll match every dollar they raise dollar for dollar. So
that's very cool. And where does your funding come from? How does that work?
We are all independently funded, very graciously, by philanthropy in Connecticut. So our founding funders, the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation, the Smart Seed Fund, and the Common Sense Fund have been supporting the development and now the administration of the program. We've been really excited to bring on some of the community foundations. Supporting our work and supporting the fellows and that kind of thing. And we're broadening. We're launching some opportunities for corporate sponsorship.
Oh, that's great. So it's not actually there's no cost to the towns to participate as part of this?
Correct. It's free and it's voluntary.
And it's not coming out of taxpayer. It's
right.
Yeah. So there's no downside really.
No downside.
Towns, yeah.
And with this new community match fund, it's like a great way for everyone to get in the game. We love it because it's really accessible. So if you have an idea about like a community garden in a blighted space in your town, you can get together with a few people. We'll help you get it posted on the website. We'll match dollar for dollar.
Just creating an environment where good ideas can
come, and then you can accept $1 from someone, so everyone can get in the game of kind of owning these great things and
it doesn't
lifting
necessarily
these
need to be
dreams
this
in our
big, huge project. It can be smaller, local level projects that work for your particular town.
Right.
Awesome. Well, to get to some of the success rates and benefits later, but as we know, Sustainable CT is based on actions and certifications. The town completes enough actions, the town gets certified in one of 3 levels, bronze, silver, and in the future gold. There are 10 sections of actions, 56 total. Lynn, can you take us through some of these categories and what municipalities can do to earn points? Like, how do they attain gold, silver, bronze?
Right. Well, I'll give you the framework, and Mike can chime in with how they've navigated it too.
What their plan is. I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, there are these 10 categories. We wanted the people who created the program, the municipal leaders wanted it to be broad, so you can't just become certified because you've done great things in energy efficiency. You have to kind of do something across the map. Okay. So a town chooses one action in each of these 9 categories. Actually, the 10th one's kind of invent your own action.
A wild card. Okay, yeah.
And then they have to achieve a certain amount of points. So you choose an action, you implement it. We have very specific directions on how to do that and resources to help towns do that. And then you receive points for it. So let's say the action is implement complete streets. So complete streets means streets are accessible and usable and comfortable for all users, bikers, walkers, vehicles, and transit. And so a lot of towns did a walk audit. They drew their residents together at certain sections of their main street or areas where their people needed to get around, and actually had a rubric and had 20 people out on the street, walked and identified there are barriers here for wheelchairs, there are barriers here for school children because there's not safe crossing signals and so on. So that's like an example of an action. A town would do it. We have a toolkit on doing an audit a walk audit that can help support them. They submit the audit results and a little story about how they did it on our website, and they get points towards certification. So as they do that across all the categories with the actions that they choose, getting 200 points is eligible for bronze certification and 400 for silver. And
is that cumulative or is that within a certain time frame?
That's within the certification cycle. So the things they've done over the past year.
Okay, year.
They do get credit for things they've done in prior years for some actions. Yeah, it's kind of complicated, but essentially
efforts sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So if they change their zoning regulations to include sustainability, obviously we can look back like up to 10 years or something to give a town credit for that, because that's not something you change every year.
Yeah.
If they had a municipal energy campaign to get residents to adopt solar power, that would be something they would have had to have done in the past year. And there's one action that's required and a foundation to our program, and that's the equity action. And it's really more of a process about guiding towns to look inward to who lives in their community, who's usually at the table, who's not at the table, and underrepresented in access to town services or access and transparency and decision making. And we have a lot of resources to help towns kind of explore questions around that. We have equity coaches that will sit with the town and say, okay, let's look at your demographics and see what groups, for complete streets, the example I gave, there may be a lot of people who always don't have cars. So obviously people living in those areas, the sidewalks are critical, need to make sure they're safe,
denser urban
large enough,
centers,
maintained.
And we have a lot of walking, that kind of stuff.
Right. There might be elderly population or people who are trying to navigate sidewalks with wheelchairs. So kind of this equity angle is important in every action
Just kind of
the towns
assessing
do.
what the other actions maybe should look like
Exactly.
to really serve your constituency.
To serve everyone.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Selectman Urgo. So what is North Stonington doing in order to try to achieve a bronze first year? Can you go straight to silver in your first year if you really went above and beyond?
I think it happened, but
Someone went straight to silver? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to go with bronze to start. I mean, that's
work your way up. Yep.
We're going to work our way up, and we're really excited about a lot of things that we have been doing, but also, are doing now. And the walk audit was actually a thing that we did perform, and it played into. We actually just this past Saturday had a community conversation about our greater village area, which is incorporates where our library is, our town hall is, our schools actually all are in this kind of really quaint and beautiful area. So the walk audit gave us some data to kind of look at and say, okay, how are we doing here? How is everybody able to traverse the area? Biking is a really big thing through our town of North Stonington. So, so we've done a couple of those things. I think the walk audit was the first thing. This community conversation is probably a part 2 for an equity builder as well, which will get the data together and probably submit that here near in the future. And then some other kind of cool things that are upcoming for us. We have No Stow Fest, which is our town-wide event. We close down Main Street. It's all things North Stonington.
No Stow Fest.
Stow Fest. Big community event. It's really, really cool.
When's that happening?
It's happening September 21st from 12 to 4. So everybody's welcome to come down.
Is it free for everybody?
Free for everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah,
right.
Free for everybody. Got bands. It's all things North Stonington. But one of the things that we're going to do, just kind of a cool little thing during that, we have a car show, and it's going to be an EV car show is actually going to be kind of part of it. So it's kind of a neat little thing that kind of inserts here. But certainly that's an event that's all about the community. I think we're in our 3rd year now or 4th year for the event, and so that's happening. And then I think one of the bigger things, and it is really a big impact thing, is the solar initiatives that we have in town. So we already had solar on a few buildings. We'll have solar on all buildings,
all municipal buildings,
by the end of this year.
Okay. So that's already in the works.
It's in the works. Yeah. So we have 2 that they're going to go on, and then we have an elementary school which will be completed next year, and then solar will go on that building as well.
A new school building.
A new school, renovate as new.
Renovated. Okay.
Yep. And then the other part of it is that we are in the process right now of we want to create a community solar program whereby residents can actually buy into, they can change over and get their energy from this plant that would be in North Stonington. So that's kind of in the early discussions.
Would it be town owned?
It would not be town owned. Where it's been discussed is on town property, but it would be leased and run by completely somebody else.
Okay.
But it would be hopefully a cost savings to residents, but also just a really big eco impact to the community. So, I mean, we're really, I'm very passionate about the environment, and a lot of people, of course, in the town are and are all over the world. So we're just really excited to take some of these actions, and really, it's nice to put everything in one place with Sustainable CT to see the impact that you're actually making, because a lot of these actions you're doing them, they're kind of all over the place, but now you're putting it in one place and you're saying, okay, this is what we've accomplished as a town.
Like looking at it as a whole and giving yourself credit where credit's due.
Yeah. And I think it also drives some excitement to the, those who care about this stuff. And I think a lot of people do, maybe drawn to want to, whether it's visit businesses in the area, make that their home. I know for our town, we have, we're actually the first town as you come into Connecticut from Rhode Island. Yep. So, we've got 2 exits off the highway. So from an economic development standpoint, we're certainly looking for more businesses in the area. We have a lot of things to offer in town, but I think we want to be known as an eco-friendly community. That's the kind of people and businesses that we'd like to attract to the area.
That's very cool. So you mentioned there's 10 categories, one of which is the wild card. Have you guys figured out what the wild card for North Stonington is going to be?
So that's the equity piece is what you're talking about, right?
It's actually the innovation actions. So it can be something that wasn't, and you don't have to do one.
Oh, so we haven't figured that one out yet.
Towns can tell us something awesome they're doing that's not on our roadmap list.
Excellent.
Yeah,
which
you
is
got
great.
that in your back pocket for when you come up with something really good.
We got a few ideas, but this, as in within government, there's a process for stuff. So I like to work with my board, especially and the other boards in town, to really kind of brainstorm on this stuff. So we usually have an all boards and commissions meeting at least quarterly. So probably a good idea to bring that to that board and say, hey, what are you guys thinking? And there's so many great people in town that volunteer that I'm sure have some great ideas. So
exciting to see what everyone's going to come up with.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to pause for a moment to do a station ID. You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH LP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and newhavenindependent.org. We are also streaming live on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com, New Haven Independent, and check it out. An interesting point to make about the actions, and we talked about this a little bit, is that not all of them are considered traditionally green initiatives. But as you said, supporting arts and culture is a big part of the action categories. What does creative culture have to do with being sustainable?
Yeah, I guess I'll just give an example that I heard one of our registered towns certified towns talking about last week. And the town of New Milford, for their arts and culture action, got points from implementing a barn quilt project. So New Milford's up there in northwestern Connecticut.
Oh, I know. I'm
a lot of
hometown boy.
Oh,
Go
good.
Green Wave. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So you may have seen these. They really wanted to support local farms and local sustainable farms. They wanted to celebrate them and make them visible.
Yep.
And so in addition to farmers markets and kind of the production of these farms, they did this arts project where there are these really beautiful wooden quilts in the traditional New England design on the side of barns. They're actually made of wood, I believe, not cloth.
Okay.
So you'll see the side of a barn with these beautiful colors and patterns that, kind of remind us of our heritage here in New England. And they're scattered throughout the town. And so it's kind of like, a barn trail. People can drive around the town and they see these things and learn about what that means, that this town really embraces their farms and sustainable farms and is showcasing those. So it's a great way to kind of integrate that local economy of farms with visibility through creative arts. So
that's very cool. Yeah,
that's a great example.
My parents are still there, and at the top of the hill there's a farm, and at the bottom of the hill there's a farm. So
you got to go back and see if they have quilts.
I got to go check out these quilts. Yeah, that's very cool, and something that makes sense for New Milford.
Right.
Wouldn't make sense in New Haven, but that's kind of, to me at least, one of the interesting things about this program is it really allows towns to customize it to what's going on there.
Exactly. Like a more urban area might be doing murals on walls in open spaces in the city, done by kids in art classes or something like that. So, or public sculptures that kind of help create a sense of place.
Yeah. Selectman, is there an arts component that you guys have thought of for your plans yet, or is that something
I think it's still in the works? We've been talking with the Southeastern Connecticut Cultural Coalition, which kind of had started prior to this, but really we're trying to kind of nurture that relationship. They're there to support the local towns and their cultural initiatives in the arts and culture, and certainly there's a lot of that in North Stonington, and I think just our sheer geography definitely poses a different bit of challenge. It's the sixth largest geographical town in the state of Connecticut. So how do you kind of incorporate all parts of town, or which parts of town do you incorporate? So I think these are conversations that are kind of ongoing right now, and how do we try to integrate that, because we do believe arts and culture, it's just such an important part of our town, and even with our schools, with our small schools that we have, we see so much creativity coming out of there, and a lot of students actually go on to careers in arts and culture. So just trying to bring everybody into that, and probably using our library, which is just such a great asset to our town. Our small library does so many functions out of the library.
And it's a lot of programming. Not just books.
Yeah, it's definitely not just books. And often there's even art shows and things like that there. But that's just one component. And certainly have seen some of these ideas that Lynn's talking about. Actually, even in Westerly, which is the next town over from us, we've seen recently they put musical instruments that are just permanently outside around town.
Interesting, yeah.
And so people can kind of walk around town. They have the murals and stuff too. So you see different things depending on the different communities. I think for North Stonington, it's a matter of figuring out what really kind of fits our town, and we're working on that now. So,
and it's very interesting. Lynn, he just mentioned some stuff going on in Westerly, which is Rhode Island.
Yep.
How does Rhode Island have a similar program? How unique is Sustainable CT?
Rhode Island does not have a program that I know of, although we've had a few conversations from folks there looking at
some
Sustainable
interest
CT.
maybe in kind of what we're doing. Okay.
We're part of a Sustainable States Network, which is 12 states with similar programs. So we were fortunate to come fairly later after a few programs have developed.
And was it kind of modeled on some of the work?
We looked at the success of these other programs.
What worked in other
so
places? Yeah.
There's a program called Sustainable Jersey. There's Massachusetts Green Communities, New York Climate Smart Communities. They all have they're all kind of
slightly different angle they're coming to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they have in common is they're statewide and they focus on community successes. So we were able to learn from those and then customize a program that met the needs of Connecticut.
Yeah.
But if I could, the arts and culture discussion reminded me of some other great examples when Mike mentioned the libraries too. So with this strong equity component, some of the submissions we're seeing this year have some really great stories. And a few of them have said towns' reactions to racial incidents and kind of figuring out how to respond to that and how to foster inclusivity and understanding. They've realized that the arts is a great bridge and a way to do that. So we're seeing examples of using the town, kind of converting the library into a community meeting space and integrating arts. Like one town had kind of the town read book and community conversations around books and authors that told stories of people, underrepresented people, to help others in the town understand all populations better. Some towns are creating a poet laureate, but it's not just an adult, it's at all levels. So they're deliberately looking to include youth and seniors and anyone of different populations and different ethnicities, so that by hearing the story of someone through poetry who may be new to our community or new to our country, through arts is a good way to make some understanding and bridge some gaps and bring people together. So we see a lot of rich opportunities in arts and culture. And a great thing about Sustainable CT is it's all about peer sharing. So when towns are certified, of which we have 22 that earned certification last year, they're on our website, sustainableCT.org. There's a map. You click on the dot, and then you can see everything that town did to get certification points. So this program on the Poet Laureate in the libraries or the book reading to kind of expand cultural connections and knowledge. Anyone can read that story, and Mike can share the stories of what he's done. They automatically get populated on the website. And so it's really interesting. In year 2, we're seeing a lot of building on what towns did in the first year and just kind of broadening and deepening in really exciting areas.
That is really exciting. One thing about sustainability that goes underreported is that it's often a money-saving policy as well as a green policy. On the other side of the state, Greenwich is looking at savings of $1.2 to $2.5 million in energy costs by upgrading buildings or building net zero projects. Selectman, what kind of benefits should towns see economically from becoming more sustainable? Like, what's
I think there's a couple of parts to that. I think economically, you're going to see financial savings. So for us in North Stonington, we've recently taken advantage of really the financial situation with low interest rates. So we've recently rebuilt created a new Center for Emergency Services, which houses our ambulance, fire. So that's a new building that was just constructed, energy efficient building, which again will have solar on it. Our middle high school is brand new, which was just completed in March, and our elementary school will be completed next year. those are going to be substantial savings.
Yeah.
And also just the climate is just so much better when you're talking about buildings that were all really in the 50s, not really necessarily the safest, or just with the materials that were used, so a lot of that kind of stuff. But then there's really the other economic side of it, where when you're investing and people see the investment that you're making in your community and doing these kinds of things, it will breed more success. You know, success breeds success, and I think you'll see more people willing to, we've seen it before where if somebody fixes their landscaping up and it was dilapidated for a while, all of a sudden, that kind of gets a little bit contagious, and you see
the neighbor says, hey, that looks nice.
That looks nice. I should do the same thing. And I think we take for granted sometimes just things that have just, whether it's been an eyesore or a blighted property, and when you see something happen, it breeds more excitement, and so I think that the economic part of it, yes, is a financial. Certainly, I mean, we know once we go to solar on these other buildings we're talking about a 40% savings in our energy bills. Yeah. That's substantial. But the other side of it is that we're starting to see just, I think, more interest just in our community. And, I think we attribute that to a lot of just hard work from just a lot of different people in town, but also this kind of thing. So you can visually see some of the things we're doing, and it really makes a difference.
And people going through town can see when a town's kind of building and stuff's looking good and new. And people I feel like being on a winning team, like someone where things are happening.
Right.
I feel like that would attract people to a community.
Yeah, I think people want to invest where they feel like, there's an investment in itself. So if you're a community that invests in yourself, you believe in yourself, that tells a business who's interested to come to town, this is a great town. And then you start to see it in numbers, and that's a lot of times what people look at. So if you use the schools as an example, I think we just came out with, and we have recently just really showing our SAT scores are like number one among schools that we're around, and we consistently see these kind of things just growing, and it's only going to get better as we continue to invest in ourselves, and that's just one example, but there's lots of examples like that. So
believing in yourselves and making it happen, I think that's attractive to a lot of people.
Yep.
Lynn, tell us about some other economic benefits of sustainability.
Yeah, well, there are the direct savings, from solar and energy efficiency.
Your energy bill is cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, and just building and kind of reiterating what Mike said, we are hearing a lot of mayors and elected officials say, this is a way when someone asks about living or starting a business in a town, they ask about the schools, they ask about, the downtown. And now towns can also kind of promote themselves and we're a sustainable CT community, which is a third-party verification. And it kind of says that we hold ourselves to these standards, and again, not just environmental, but about livability. So the economic development impact of kind of being able to state to your residents your pride in being sustainable CT certified, and to others who are looking to do business or buy a home or rent a home in your community.
Excellent. So that's the possibilities of sustainability bringing money in, but some of these things do have costs initially, and a primary concern for a lot of towns and cities is funding. But a lot of actions, like converting, there's grants and matching funds. Lynn, can you tell us a little bit about the Community Match Fund and the grants portal that are available to municipalities through Sustainable CT?
Yeah. So the roadmap of actions, it was really important to the towns that kind of co-created the program under our coordination, that we didn't put things on there that required the town to hire a consultant, or they could only get points if they invested a lot of money in it. So the actions on the roadmap are not new things. We talked about the walk audit. We're using the AARP template for doing a walking audit. We have things on renewable energy that are supported fully by the Connecticut Green Bank. We have an action to assess your community's vulnerability to climate change, which is we have free half-day workshops and consulting from the Nature Conservancy. So we're bringing a lot of partnerships and resources that are essentially kind of free technical consultation to the towns to do these things. in addition to things like the fellows that I mentioned. Yeah. And we have a grants portal, which is looking at other types of fundings out there, federal or state grants that align with our actions. And I mentioned at the beginning the Community Match Fund, which is now Sutainable CT's way of supporting sustainability projects in the community.
That's through you guys, and then the other stuff can lead to other grants from other organizations too. Right.
So we have, for this first tranche of projects under the Community Match Fund, we have $385,000 in matching dollars. So, projects are eligible that are up to a $50,000 budget, half of that being matched by Sutainable CT and half crowdfunded. So they can be big projects. We anticipate we're going to see mostly smaller things like $5,000 range, ideas that can be implemented quickly by a number of residents in a town without a lot of kind of feasibility studies or infrastructure or whatnot, although those projects are also eligible. So we're really excited. We have funders that have committed to a second tranche of funding already who are just watching to see, kind of how fast this money goes and what the projects look like. So please contact us at info@sustainableCT.org.
To learn more about ways you can participate
if you
and
have
help
a great idea of a project in your community that we can support and help provide match dollars.
Excellent. I think I think it's important. I can't understate the fellows and the interns, how helpful they were for towns that are thinking about getting involved in this program. It really made it really possible for us, because I think, like I said, a lot of towns don't really have the resources to commit some of the time and the resources to put the paperwork together, and they really made it easy for us. And we're looking forward to participating in some of these the grant applications and getting a couple of these projects off the ground once we kind of move some of that stuff forward. So
that's very cool, because I said not everyone has the staffing or whatever, and you're busy running a town. There's a lot going on, and so for some, the idea of taking on another thing might seem like too much, but Sustainable CT is there helping, providing support.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I think, even the first year, like I was pretty gung-ho to get us involved that first year, but we had a lot of things going on the first year of my term. And then I think you did even have the interns then, but attending the COG meetings, meeting them this summer, said, this is the time for us. So it really made it easier for us. So I would say any towns thinking about it, definitely consider.
Yeah, it's not that scary.
No. Yeah. Nope. It's great.
I would just add, if I could, another thing about the Fellows program is we had 12 students the first year and 15 this year working in the COGS all summer. And so it of course, provides valuable services to the towns. Another thing we love about it is we're taking students going to colleges and universities in Connecticut and embedding them right next to our elected officials and town leaders. And helping them talk to the leaders about the vision for this community and carry that vision and, help implement these things in our platform. So we're excited that it feels like a great way to say to these young emerging professionals, hey, Connecticut is a great place. It's a place where you can work with your neighbors and your local officials and make the town the place you want to be, the place you want to live and stay in Connecticut and work. And we, of course, would love to keep all of those young students in Connecticut working to make our state a more vibrant place.
And people are always talking about how to keep younger people in the state, keep them from moving out. Right. And that's really cool. Talking about, the interns can go out and help the towns and teach them about some of the things that Sustainable CT is doing and help them through that. But the flip side is that those students are also learning about local government.
Right.
Which we always need more people to get involved, to run for offices.
No question.
Yeah. And so that's, for our membership at least, that's got to be an exciting aspect of this as well, is, getting young college students excited and participating in local government.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the big final setup question for both of you. So I want you to put your thinking caps on for this one. So what is the impact of Sustainable CT for North Stonington, the state, and what is the impact of having an organization that provides a shared vision, an action roadmap, practical tools, multiple benefits, and a collaborative spirit to build a thriving Connecticut for all residents today and tomorrow? We'll start with you, Lynn.
So I would say kind of the initial impact in, we're just about at year 2, is we have 88 of 169 towns engaged in the program. So it's a platform that engages towns. It's flexible enough to meet them where they want to go with it, and provides the support. 22 towns earned certification in the first year. So 17 bronze and 5 silver, which is phenomenal. Frankly, it far exceeded the goals we had and the goals that our board had set. So that's exciting. Impact being people are engaged, people can get around something with a positive vision, and they're finding value in the program. More specifically, as we look at kind of the actions and what's been done, these actions are aligned with broad state goals. So the actions around open space are aligned with the state's goal of 21% of our land in open space. The actions around recycling are linked with the state's greenhouse gas reductions and so on. So now that we're into year 2 and we were bringing more data into the program, Mike mentioned all the efficiency of his schools and the solar from his schools. We can calculate the dollars saved, the greenhouse gas emissions saved from those measures that North Stonington has done. We can then roll up what every other town has done in that and similar actions and show the collective impact of all of our towns across the state on Connecticut's greenhouse gas targets. And which I think is phenomenal to be able to just show towns and local action is where you can really move the needle on some of these things that seem overwhelming and hard to get your hand around, like climate change.
88 towns working together on something can add up to one bigger result. Selectman Urgo, what's your final take on all this?
I mean, I think I think it's incredibly unfortunate what's happening, whether just on a national level as it comes to climate change and global warming and the things we're seeing about, regulations being rolled back. And it's just, it's unacceptable. And so I think the really exciting thing about this initiative is that we can have a grassroots movement in each town to say, okay, what can we do? And if we all come together and we all make a difference, it adds up. And as you see, I mean, with 88 towns already expressing interest, I mean, that's starting to get up there, and we can only hope that more of that happens. And I mean, I think in our town in North Stonington, we recognize the value of, the environment around us there. We're known for our hiking trails and our biking and our lakes. And so, I think just making sure that we're continuing to really value those resources and just think more broadly, more diversely about the community that we have there. And I think the Sustainable CT initiative kind of is a little bit of a roadmap that can help us. But I'm hoping that, we'll see more and more towns engage in this, and really so we can just make a difference in our state of Connecticut and hopefully even kind of broadcast that out to the other states in the country.
Well, great. Thank you guys for being here. I would like to thank our guests, Lynn Stoddard and Mike Urgo. Last year, we presented at our convention over 20 towns with bronze and silver. And this year, at our convention in December, we're going to be presenting the new certifications, which will be exciting to find out. So everyone, pay attention to CCM's Facebook and all that kind of stuff for those announcements.
December 3rd.
December 3rd. It's gonna be good stuff. To learn more about Sustainable CT, please visit sustainablect.org. The Municipal Voice by CCM is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Kevin Maloney is our executive producer. Christopher Gilson is our producer. Harry Draws is on the boards. And I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like. And watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page. Just search for CCM chats and you'll find them all in one convenient playlist. Thanks for being here, guys.